And welcome to Chart of the Day Cafe for Thursday, October 27th, 2016. Thank you for your patience with me not putting a video out on Tuesday. Sorry about that, but as you can tell, I had a terrible cold. Could not say a word on Tuesday. So today at least I can say a few things, but pardon my scratchy voice. So I'll just read our disclaimer quickly. Trading stocks has a high level of risk, and viewers should complete their own due diligence on any stock or underlying that they intend to own. 100% of the content of this video and communique is intended for journalistic and educational purposes only. This video and all indicators, strategies, and articles herein should not be construed as investment advice. Thank you for your patience with that. So as regular viewers well know, we always start our videos off with a look at the Russell Index. And for that, we use the IWM, which is the ETF that represents the Russell 2000. And we step back to take a look at it on a 5-year monthly time frame. We look at the Russell, just to keep these videos short, we're going to just look at one index, and I figure the Russell is the most interest rate sensitive, so it's the one that I choose to refer to. So 5-year monthly chart, paying attention to this blue channel that the Russell was trading in through all of 2014, had this little lift up and out in early 15, hit this upper blue shaded line, and then sold off. Price strength came back in, and we are right back up at that shaded blue line right here, right now. So very important area on the monthly chart. The candle for the month of September, interesting. Here we are in October. We've got 3 or 4 trading days left in the month, and so far we've got a red looking candle. We drew this trend line in a few weeks ago. We're going to take a look at that trend line in a little more detail in a minute, but just wanted you to see that reference on the monthly, that we're going to need some giddy up here for this uptrend to continue in the weeks to come. So we'll see. I'm going to move it away from the 5-year monthly to the 2-year weekly. Same blue line, everything's the same. We're just magnifying our time frame, and there's that blue channel. At Chart of the Day Cafe, it's all about this blue line here, which is the 8-day EMA. We will not put fresh charts forward for our watch list unless price on the Russell is up and over the 8-day EMA and showing strength on the daily chart. Right now we're looking at the weekly. You can see that the Russell is trading below the 8-day EMA on the weekly chart as well as the daily chart, which I'll show you in a minute. But for right now, I just want you to pay attention to this black line that we drew in several weeks ago saying this is our trend line. The Russell is going to have to break through this black line if it's going to make a run at higher highs and get through this shaded blue line that was resistance way back in 2015. So we want to see how it behaves in this area. It's going to be interesting. What I'm also going to do now is add another line to show you this wedge. So we've got this wedge pattern happening here, right now. And this line, you can see how it was important back in 2015 as well. So this area that we're in currently is an important one if you ask me. So I'm going to move it away from the 2-year weekly to the 6-month daily. And you can see that price on the Russell is below that 8-day EMA on the daily chart, trading in this wedge. I'm filming this at about 9:15 on Thursday morning. The futures are going to open higher. The futures would indicate the market will open higher, I should say. So we're going to open up near this black line. In the next few days, because we're getting into the apex, it's going to have to decide whether it's going to break down or break up. So we will see. Interesting area for sure. But with price below that 8-day EMA, we're not putting any fresh charts forward. But I did want to go over a few past Chart of the Day Cafe picks that look kind of interesting here. One is RGR, which we flagged. It was a Chart of the Day Cafe pick way back here. Sorry, I'm going to go back 5 years. I've been doing these videos now for a while. So here is the monthly. We put it forward here on our watch list. It took a little while to get traction, but when it did, it really took off, and now it's trading in this wedge here. So I think it's one to really keep an eye on. We flagged it in a video last week when it was in this area, saying it was going to get a 3 and 8 cross. I keep the blue line simple. I don't put the 3 on typically, but for those of you that do use the 3 and 8 cross, it was getting it here. Now it's come in to touch the trend line, and we'll see if it gets lift. Check the scores on it again this morning, and they're still where we want them. For Chart of the Day Cafe, it's all about value and growth. The other one is RTN, Raytheon. which has had a nice couple of days. And again, it was a chart of the day cafe pick way back here in 2014. So it's done pretty well and looks to be lifting off this area of support here. Again, check the scores this morning and they were still high. But with that, I'm going to get back to the Russell and I want to check another index with you. So for those of you that want to stick around, great. For those of you that don't, see you next week. Going back to the Russell and this area, a little more elaboration on where we are. So as I look at charts, I'm going to go and take a look at it on the quarterly. And I'm going to go about 10 years so we can get a better look. So this area, to reiterate, is going to be important. You know, here's the candle. We're looking at the quarterlies now. There's that blue channel that I've been keeping an eye on that I think is kind of important. Here's the candle for January, February, March. We had that sell-off in January, we all remember, and price strength came back in, pushed it right back into our channel. April, May, June stayed within this blue channel. July, August, September, we finally broke out of the blue channel and we had this pretty bullish looking candle with a wide body on the IWM. So here's that orange line. To me, in my eyes, in the way I look at charts anyway, it would make sense that we should see some price pickup. If this uptrend is really going to continue, it's going to have to continue pretty soon in terms of the quarterly candle and where we are right here, right now. The other one I wanted to review with you is the banking index, which we looked at a couple of weeks ago. For this, I use the index itself, which is BKX in the US. This orange line was important. If you want to go back and take a look at that video, I'm not going to get into the orange line today, but we had this wedge drawn in and said at that point it was trading within the wedge. If the banks are going to show some strength here, they need to break out of this wedge, which they did. So they've had a really strong week since. So the financials are looking good. The sector that I think is really worth keeping an eye on here are the transports. So for that, I'm going to use the index itself, which is TRAN, and we're looking at the one in the US. Today, I think, is going to be a really important day for the transport. So yesterday we had a doji. Today would be the day, I would think anyway, and anything can happen, but we have our trend line drawn in here on the transports. I'm going to step back for 2 secs just to give you that broader perspective on the transport. So we were talking about these quarterly candles. We're looking at the 5-year chart now, and this orange line being very important. Here's January, February, March for the transports, April, May, June, July, August, September. So it's starting to break out of this wedge, the big wedge. And here's October so far, and I've got this little wedge in October. So, you know, the thinking being why I'm spending time on this is that if the Russell's going to pick up here, the transports need to pick up as well. So the financials broke out of that wedge. Will the transports? Let's see. So I'm going to move it away from the quarterly on the transport index, back to the 2-year weekly. So this is the same great big wedge. Here are the weekly candles. I had them kind of in this squeeze pattern here. And now they've had this tiny little breakout of the bigger wedge, but they're now forming a smaller wedge within a wedge. I hope that's not too confusing. But here we are right here. This is the sector that I think is going to be really important in the next few days. So transports had a doji yesterday. We're going to open strong. Can they follow through on that? So I know Tesla announced some positive earnings this morning. Ford disappointed, I think, a little bit, but we'll see if the transports can pick up here. That would be important. So hope that wasn't too long and complicated, but I think that's something to keep an eye on. And with that, I'll leave you. Have a great weekend, and we will put out another video out next Tuesday. Thanks very much.